Welcome to the Building Materials Sales and Marketing Podcast, presented by Mark Mitchell, a sales and marketing consultant who specializes in helping building materials companies overcome difficult sales problems. Mark is the author of the book Building Materials Channel Marketing and a frequent speaker at industry events.
Hello, this is Mark Mitchell from Wizard Strategy. Thanks again for tuning in to my podcast. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the AIA show I recently attended in New York City, the American Institute of Architects, for those of you that don't know what that means. So first of all, when I got there, I saw what I expected, which was large crowds of architects. One is there are always a lot of architects who attend the show, and there may have been even more because of the architects love a city like New York City, where there are lots of things for them to learn and see, tours to take, field trips to take that would be of great interest to them. So when I walked in to register, the lines of architects were very long. The lines of architects signing up to go on field trips and for educational sessions were very long. All of that was very good and encouraging. When I took time to informally talk to architects over coffee before the show, they all talked about how excited they were to be there, but to learn, 1, to go to classes, 2, to go on field trips, and 3, to network with other architects. None of them said, I'm really looking forward to going on the show floor and seeing the exhibits. When I pushed architects, some of them would say, well, there is a type of product that I'm interested in learning more about. And I see there's some exhibitors that are here when I looked in the program. So I'm going to go look for them. No architect said, I'm going to go walk up and down the aisles of the show to see what I see. So this is a problem that the architect show particularly always faces, because the main interest of the architect is to come there to learn, not to walk up and down the show floor. And as I expected, as I went into the show floor, it was what I expected, which was there was very little traffic. You might almost say it was dead. Now, as the day went on, I noticed 2 things. One is it seemed like the AIA, I know they've recognized this problem and have been tried different things to do, such as moving educational classrooms onto the show floor, which to me hasn't particularly worked well, as I see architects come out of the class immediately rushing to the next class, not leisurely walking by exhibits and stopping to talk to the exhibiting companies. It seemed like, though, they may have changed some timing so that maybe there were some windows of time where there were no classes or very few, because I did see times during the day when there would be more architects on the show floor, which was certainly a good thing. You wish that would be more of a constant, as it tends to be at shows like the Builder Show. The other thing that I noticed about traffic, it seemed like the people in the basement had much less traffic than the people on the main floor. And the other one that I noticed was, if you were a company that it was your first time exhibiting there, if you were a company with something that was new to show, or a company that was had a solution to a problem that an architect is facing today, such as, we'll say, with the growth of multifamily sound control. So I saw a number of more sound control companies there, and they seemed to have a good amount of traffic in their exhibits. Companies there that I did not understand why they were there. The number one example of this were companies that sold products that go into commercial buildings, so they can assume that the architect has a role in specifying that their type of product will be used, and perhaps have an or equal spec that features them. But they were unimportant products in my mind, like sealants, adhesives, and caulks. Products that are certainly critical to the building, but products with all the other things an architect has to worry about and think about. The architect is more often going to rely on the contractor's recommendation of which one of those products to use. So I didn't really see a purpose for companies like that to exhibit at this particular show. The other type of product that I saw were companies who are, we'll say, large, successful companies in their market who had absolutely nothing new to say. They were just there with their product. And that, to me, they had very low traffic, very low interest. I saw one company in the commercial roofing and insulation category that certainly is a leader, even tried to have their own educational classroom in their booth. And when I talked to them, they said that, literally nobody would show up and sit through the class. Where if they did that same thing at the builder show, it would be standing room only. So I think it had more to do with viewing that under the architect says, I understand what you're talking about. There's nothing new here, so I'm not going to spend my time to sit in a class. So at least it was an interesting exercise. I also saw a couple of people that I thought did a smart job. Unfortunately, I can't tell you the name of the company, but they were giving away an Ames chair, which is something that every architect, if they don't already own one, they dream of having an Ames chair. Where frequently, if you're going to do a giveaway, which I'm never necessarily a big fan of, it's always great to do one that really resonates with the audience. And I think giving away an Ames chair was really smart. The architects, I also saw you could just see throughout the show the effect of the growth of multifamily. I thought a lot of companies missed the opportunity. Their exhibit would tell me what they made and their name, and then maybe a couple of features, and they would expect the architect to connect the dots about why they should be interested. It's once again that problem of where, let's say you sell windows and you assume every building has a window, so every building is an architect who designed it's a prospect for us. And a much more effective way is when you narrow that down and say, if you are designing a hotel, if you are looking for a building that has these issues, we are a great solution. That's going to be much more effective than trying to be all things to all people, as I saw many companies trying to do. One of the two biggest things that popped out at me about multifamily was I must have seen 8 different companies selling ways to store bicycles within buildings. And I was like, does the world really need 8 different companies doing this? But there they were. And whether it was, here's how to hang bikes, lock bikes, store bikes. There was even one company that had a bike washing system. So those, first of all, to me said, these are primarily probably designed for use in multifamily buildings and perhaps some office buildings that are located in areas where people are going to want to ride their bikes to work. But that really jumped out at me. The other one that jumped out at me was the number of companies that were there showing their sound control products. And whether it was between walls, between floors, there was just a lot of companies exhibiting, and they seemed to have a good amount of traffic. So I thought a lot of other companies that maybe were a good solution for multifamily didn't take the time to single out what are the architects, what types of buildings are they probably most interested in, and why is our products a great fit. So I would recommend people in the future, once again, get much more focused. The other thing that I noticed were a couple of companies that used very, very creative examples of their products. Product applications or colors or finishes that probably no one is ever going to buy, but they served as a great attention getter to bring you into the exhibit where then you're going to sell them probably the normal gray color, for example. One company was Larson, and I just loved the colorfulness of their exhibit, showing all the different colors you could get their products in. At the end of the year, it'll be interesting to see how few products they sold of those colors, but it certainly was a great way to reinforce the fact that you can get products in all of these colors. It stopped you when you were walking down the aisle and wanted to pull you in. So I saw several companies that were doing that. The other thing that I noticed was I found more companies intelligently downsizing. This is not a show that I would recommend that you have a bigger booth. If anything, you find ways to have a smaller booth. And I saw that most companies had, we'll just say, had very reasonable, correct size booths, as opposed to much larger booths that they may have at other shows. Another thing I found quite effective were companies who took the time to, perhaps I'll call it, make a cutaway wall or do something where the architect could go up and touch and feel and really understand how the product fits in with other components to give you a total system. I saw this a lot with wall components, how walls go together. Here's where our product fits, and this is the benefit it provides. And I saw always, it seemed to be popular in terms of architects wanting to walk up and touch and feel. Much more effective than just having a picture in a brochure. It seemed also like there are big is, once again, window and glass companies face this challenge of the architects go, how big a window or door can you make? And they'll say 10 feet. And then the architect immediately goes, well, can you make 12? And I don't know the size of it, but I saw a company there. I probably am not going to pronounce this right, but it's Vitro CSA that just had, I don't know how it was. It looks like an 18, maybe 20 foot tall glass door that was very easy to open and close on a slider. It was really spectacular and generated a lot of interest. So there's that idea of the growing interest in size. I also saw, as the whole industry is looking at ways to reduce waste and inefficiency, that was another common and very smart theme, that using our product, not that our product is cheaper, but that our product can save labor. Our product is easier to design, and just ways to reduce waste and inefficiency and make the building more productive. A missing message that I didn't really see was the idea of bringing the owner in. In other words, if your owner is looking for this, our product's going to help you achieve and have you get a happier owner, and a happier owner is then more likely to come back and give the architect the next project. The other part I didn't really see is architects are challenged today by the growth of design build and other ways of constructing, in which perhaps you could say the role of the architect is becoming less important, or the role of the architect has certainly changing with many types of buildings. And I didn't see any messaging there addressing the reality of that and how the architect, this is a company that's going to help me to be more, once again, reduced waste and efficiency and help the building be more productive or get the owner into the building sooner. People seem to be focused always on, it's like they have blinders. There's my product and that's all I have to worry about. They don't enough think about how your product is part of a system. Even a window gets installed in a wall, and a window has to be flashed, and a window has to perform. A window has many purposes, whether it's to let natural light in or save energy. And you don't see enough people talking about the effect of the role of their product within the total system. You also saw the continuing growth of the importance of BIM, and many different suppliers touting BIM, and many companies touting that how, I'll use the word, they were more BIM friendly than the next guy. I think it's still, to many people, still a little confusing about what's the best approach to BIM, who are all of these suppliers that can help me with BIM, and what benefit will I get, and which one or ones should I use. So my recommendation takeaways were, one is, I think you really should question, first of all, should you go to the Architect Show next year? The beauty of the Architect Show is it did not, to me, appear to be sold out. I talked to several exhibitors who had very good locations, who told me they decided literally 2 months ago to come to the show. They had no trouble getting exhibit space, and they had no trouble getting good exhibit space. Where shows that sell out, like the Builder Show, will put a lot of pressure on you to commit right away. Otherwise, you won't have as good a space or whatever other perks that they offer you. But I think this is one show, particularly moving to Las Vegas, where you can take your time to think about it. Why are you going? What do you hope to get out of it? The second recommendation is, I always view trade shows as an excellent source of research, where too quickly people say, what did we sell? What new customers did we get? And they don't ask the question, what did we learn? What did architects ask about? What were their concerns? Did we communicate? What could we have done better? Those questions are rarely asked within companies. So I encourage you to quickly get everybody, whether it's on a conference call, however you do it, but get everyone that worked the show, the people responsible for designing the booth, anybody in that realm, get them together and have a good, solid debrief in which people aren't going to get defensive and not hear how something could have been better. And then the third, and probably one of the most important aspects, is to carefully think about your follow-up program. If you came away from the show, you almost certainly have some leads. And whether it is a lot of leads or not that many, it really doesn't matter. What matters is, number one, the quality of the lead and how you follow up on the lead. Too many companies, they just do the basics. We're going to mail a brochure. We're going to leave a voicemail. We're going to send an email. And if we don't hear back from them, I guess they don't want our product, and we'll go back to business as usual. You need to be much more patient and continue to follow up with them for whatever it takes. Many times it's months that they have an interest in your product, but it isn't like they need to buy it today. It could be 6 months from now, where they now have a project that your product would be a great solution. And if you haven't been in communication with them, they are likely to have forgotten, who was that company I met at the AIA show? So be patient with that, because it gets back to, you should be able to measure the results of the trade show. Going to trade shows is extremely expensive. I'm not a big fan of companies going to trade shows, mainly because I feel that they that they approach it poorly. They get poor results. They do it for the wrong reasons. They do it for what would people think if we weren't there. They do it because we're always there. And they continue to try to avoid actually applying any metrics to their trade show investment. I believe there's no reason why you don't take those leads and over the next 12 months, track them so you can come back and say, we had 100 leads. Of the 100 leads, we were able to meet with 40 of those architects. And of those 40, it has resulted in 20 specifications for this many dollars. And we were able to keep 12 of those specifications for this many actual sales dollars. And then look at that compared to the expenditure of the trade show. The trade show may likely still exceed the profit margin you make on those particular sales, but other sales will have happened that you aren't able to capture just because you were there. But at least you have some benchmark to make sure that to continue to improve and to ask yourself, what could we do better? So I hope this has been helpful as you think about how not only if you're in the commercial building materials market and focused on architects, but any of you who are responsible for trade shows or have to work the trade show or just have to write the check for the trade show that you think about that. So until our next episode, thanks again for tuning in. And if you feel that your company could benefit from a little bit of outside challenging thinking, that's what I'm here for. So feel free to reach out and contact me to see if I might be a good fit to help your organization.
Thank you for listening to this podcast from Mark Mitchell on building materials, sales, and marketing. We hope he gave you some fresh perspectives on how to grow your sales and will listen to future episodes.